Hello, my name is Adam. This is a quick video about what I mean by key messages. So when you're using the website here to generate text and answers, some of them are going to be key messages, and these are separate than like answers to the core or key questions. Okay, what do I mean by a key message? So a key message are the real bits of information that you want to communicate, not the whole answer. Within the answers, there's going to be something very important that you want to transmit and communicate to the interviewer. And basically, these are key messages. At the end of this video, I'll go through some of the most common ones, okay? So one of the problems when you're answering or preparing questions for an interview is that you have an answer to a question. What happens if that question doesn't come? You're not really prepared. So what I recommend is to have those answers, great, fantastic, but also within those answers to identify the key message. So if you get an answer that's very similar, or like a discussion where you could use that key message, you can use it. Okay, if you have to repeat yourself, I don't think that's a problem either. So, but definitely you can use it and not necessarily wait for a question. If the question doesn't come, you never get to tell the interviewer something very important about you. Okay, so going down here on we've just started the ChatGPT, so the others are coming. So this is just the first one here is my next step, and you can generate that in the website now, and the others are coming very shortly. So my next step, for example, is something you could use in your tell me about yourself. It could be used even like why are you leaving your current job, what are you looking for next, lots of kind of questions you could generate and use a variation or use this precise text. Something like, for my next role, I'm looking for a more international company and a role where I can take on much more responsibility within the projects I'm working on. That's what I'm looking for next. Okay. My vision for 5 years is typically, where do you see yourself in 5 years? But it could be other questions as well. And you want to say something like, well, my aim for 5 years' time is to have the responsibility of landing some of the biggest clients possible for the agency each financial year. Okay, so next one would be my career interest or motivation. So this is trying to tell them why you're doing this career. Again, this could be used in tell me about yourself. It could be used for questions about why do you do this particular career, or why did you first get started, or why do you want to continue, or any questions like that. Okay, so talk about what motivates you within the career. Okay, so my career has always been focused on improving my ability to produce UX designs that make sure customers spend more of their budget and come back more often for the website's products and services. Another key message example is my authority statement. This is possibly in tell me about yourself option. It's also a good type of statement to have, and when they say why do you think you can do the job? The authority statement is typically a statement that comes from the top of the job description. One of the first two must-haves. If you have that, you state it. So it's not an opinion really. You're describing something that you've done or you've got, that then says to them, yes, I can do the job in a very clear way. So for example, on a basic level, my core experience as a customer services team leader for 3 years would show that I have the key competencies to do this job to an excellent level. And then you would continue maybe, but as well as that, I'm passionate, as well as that, I'm interested in doing this or whatever else. But this is an authority statement to make them feel that you can definitely do the job. Another type of questions here in the first ones we're going to do is my strongest feature. So typically this is what's your greatest strength. And here you would say that my greatest professional strength would be how well organized and proactive I am as a tech sales representative. And my strongest interpersonal skill would be my ability to truly listen to the client and then to ask them the right questions. A job hero statement is similar, but here the focus is on you describing how you would positively impact the team. So a question could be something like, well, what will you bring here? Or why should we employ you? And you can include the job hero statement, okay? So the key benefit that I would bring to this team with my approach to always be willing to help, to respect that everyone is trying to do their best, and often a more senior team member spending an extra few minutes with other team members can make all the difference. Okay, so if I go down here, a little bit down here on this page, it says how to use these key messages. I think there's two, and I mentioned it before already, there's two key ways or main ways to use them. One is within an answer to a typical question. So you prepare your answer, and within that, there's the key message. It's also when you get a question that's similar or a discussion that goes towards one of them, you can then insert this key message without the extra information that you had in that answer. And that's why I really recommend to use the key messages and to prepare them first. Then you feel not that, oh, what's the question? What's the question? You're thinking more, well, what can I tell them about myself? Here's a list of some of the most common key messages that I would recommend for someone to prepare. So, as I said, you've got your career interest motivation. So why are you even doing this type of work? You've got your work satisfaction statement. This is something where, what's your day-to-day pleasure in this work, okay? You've got your next step, what you plan to do next, and then you've got your 5-year plan for your career. But also you've got your job skills. So this is a second section. This is about having things specific about the quality of work that you produce. So for example, anything specific skills that you have a statement about them. Maybe even to say, well, what you've done for that skill or what level you have, okay? Your authority statement, I said before. A doubt resolution statement. These statements are when they're between the job description and what you offer, there is a gap. You should prepare a statement to explain this gap and why this should not be a problem, okay? So because before you can sell yourself, you have to remove their doubts. Your catch-all value statement would be a very generic statement about a core value or core attribute you have. For example, I'm a very professional person in terms of the way I arrive on time, the way I work, the way I talk to people. So this idea, this brand image of you, professional, and then you have other things to explain what you mean by that. Your strongest feature, we did that before. Your job hero statement, so again, how value you bring to the team. And another key message is your business value added promise. This is typically, if you use this statement, you are either generating revenue or reducing costs. So for example, something like, well, you know, as you see from my past work, I've been able to reduce costs across my team by 10%. Okay. The final one is about culture, about work culture, and how you would fit into their potential company. This would require you to actually learn a little bit about them and then to use that information to describe how you work. You have your culture overlap. Culture overlap is the way, oh, I really like the way you work, the way you guys work. Your mission overlap is, I really like the way your company is going, or what you aim to be, or who you serve, or the type of products you got. Something about the main mission of their company matches you. And finally, ways about the way you might work. So what's your approach to independence as opposed to, needing others? Okay. What's your approach to planning? What's your approach to information and how information moves around a company? What's your approach to people? What's your philosophy of dealing with difficult people or people in general? What's your approach to time? So time might be when you have to compromise in situations. Time might be when you have to deal with stress. Time might be about managing multiple projects at the same time. What's your approach to time? And finally, what's your approach to action? So what periods of your work do you consider action more important than thinking or planning? And what type of work do you have? No, this is when I think about things before I take action. And just explain that in your work culture. hopefully that will be mirrored in their company as well. So these are basically what I mean by the key messages. These are not all the key messages, but they're most of the common ones that if you have within your stories when you go to the interview, you'll give much stronger answers and a much clearer image of yourself. Just because I forgot, these approach questions are actually great to use in the behavioral questions, because that will explain the actions you took and the philosophy behind the way you did whatever you did in your story. Anyway, that's great. That's about key messages. See you soon.